Hi, I'm Nissen.
I'm Christian Kim.
And today we'll be discussing Wanderer Above the Sea of Fog. Wanderer Above the Sea of Fog is a romantic painting by the German-born painter Caspar David Friedrich, who was born September 5th, 1774 and died in May 1840. Wanderer Above the Sea of Fog was painted in 1818 and is an oil and canvas painting, and it currently resides in the Kunsthalle Hamburg, which is a museum in Hamburg, Germany.
What's particularly interesting about the composition of this piece is that the artist decided to paint it vertically instead of the popular horizontal orientation of many portraits. This positioning enhances the uprightness of the man shown in the painting. Now the man has his back facing towards the viewer, thus his identity is hidden to us. This also means that the tone of the painting is questionable because we cannot see his face. We cannot see the emotions that he is conveying as he is looking over this magnificent landscape.
And if you notice in the painting, there are several diagonal lines that point us towards the man himself. You see the mountains in the distance on the right and the left side both come to a vanishing point, which ends with the man himself. And the fog itself swirls around and kind of brings the view back to the man, as well as the rocky precipice that he's standing on goes in a diagonal line up towards the man. So all of the viewer's attention is on the man.
Yes, and although we cannot see what the man is feeling because his face is concealed, we can infer that he's probably looking with amazement based on his body position. Here he's shown leaning on his cane with his hand in his pocket as if he's studying the landscape, fully engaged with what he is seeing. As for the purpose of this painting, Friedrich intentionally concealed the man's face in order to compel the audience to look at life and nature from his own perspective. He stresses the idea that solitude combined with nature can be associated with a sort of physical and spiritual fulfillment. He's trying to make the viewers realize that understanding nature can lead to enlightenment.
And I think a good way to look at this painting, especially in the context of the romantic painter that Friedrich is that this man has climbed to what he can perceive as almost the top of the world. It's a rocky precipice that, if you look at the background of the painting, it's this thing that everything else is below him and he's above it. Except when you actually this man would, infer that he is now the master of his surroundings at the top of the world. But when we look at the painting itself, it's actually very clear that he is just a tiny, tiny speck within his surroundings. As you see far into the distance, there's a tall, tall mountain, which even in the distance is above the man's head in the painting.
Also, even though he's ascended above the clouds, as you can see in the sky, there are even more clouds above him, so it's showing that he is still inferior to nature, that nature will always be above him.
And I think another interesting point about this painting is the man shown is clearly of the bourgeois class. He's wearing a nice suit, he has a nice cane. I think an interesting thing to notice is in that most paintings of this era, bourgeois, their status symbol was their hat.
Oh, notably, there is no hat shown on the man.
Exactly, this man isn't wearing a hat. And I think one of the things that can be said about it is that out here in nature and the dangers of nature and its beauty is that social class no longer matters. It's simply man and nature.
Well, it could also be possible the man is just taking off his hat too, as he's admiring the scene.
Almost in like a kind of admiration of the divinity that is nature. So we see this painting and the sublime surroundings that this man is in shows the power of nature and how, despite human ambition, how far we reach, we will always be outshadowed by the power of nature and by its glory. Thank you for listening to this discussion with Matthew Nissen
and Christian Kim.